What's going on, guys? It's Waithe here. Now in today's video I'm going to be talking about moving to Ibiza with my girlfriend. Now I don't know about you, but the UK has been an absolute miserable place to live. Politics aside, it's just a place that's a bit stressful. So me and my girlfriend decided to pack all of our things from our house into storage and move all the way to Ibiza. Adam, how is your liver going to cope with living in Ibiza? I mean, honestly, there's loads of parties, you know, there's loads of seshing, there's loads of... Now actually, we went there just to explore and kind of relax. Do you know what I mean? You don't always have to sesh, and I guess, you know, it does sound a little bit old man of me. I'm just in my flip-flops, just walking around with a newspaper, sitting by the beach. But I mean, that is vibes. Do you know what I mean? Vibes. You don't always have to drink so much. Now, obviously, there were a few things that we had in mind. It was cost. It was how busy it's going to be throughout the whole season. Because if you're going for more than a week, you're going to want to stay in places that isn't too chaotic all the time. Because it's now, you're actually living there. You know, you're becoming a resident instead of just being a tourist and just traveling briefly there, like through the country. So obviously there's a whole load of different places to stay at, so we decided to start it easy with staying at somewhere for a week, and then we'd move on from there. So the first place that we stayed at, we actually found for an amazing deal, and I think it cost us 400 euros altogether for a week in a penthouse apartment. And now this is because it was off season, so we were able to stay there, and it was a great time. It was really fun. Now this was just around the corner from San Antonio, so we're not far from all the action, but it was a really nice chance to kind of see the quieter areas without being overwhelmed with all the party lifestyle.
Hola, my neighbor.
Now in terms of budgeting, you're probably thinking, isn't it going to be expensive eating out all the time? Now this is why we selected places that had its own kitchen and, you know, some sort of cooking facility, so we could just go to the local shop and just literally act like you're living in the UK but abroad and just getting local things. I mean, it doesn't always have to be expensive if you don't want it to be. I mean, we can go for nights out and we can go for dinners out, but it was really nice just being able to stay in your apartment and just cook a meal and just relax. You know, it's weird when you go on holiday for a set amount of time. Say you have 7 days, you feel like you need to squash every single thing into that holiday. So day 1, do everything. Day 2, do everything. Day 3, do everything. But because we were there for 3 months, we kind of spaced it out. Obviously, when we first got there, it felt like we wanted to do everything, but then as you go past the first week, it slowly starts to feel like you're just like a resident in that new country. So in terms of transport, obviously you can walk around and get about that way, but it's so hot, and also the island is only connected by about 3 roads, so it's pretty much impossible to walk from one side to the other. So there are different ways of transport. There's taxis, obviously, and taxis cost so much if you're just adding them up. It's not much if you're splitting them between a few people, but because it was just me and her, I mean, if we're going back and forth, it was £30 each time, no matter what. So obviously, if you're there for 3 months, that's not very good. So what we ended up doing was renting a quad bike. And quad bikes are such a fun way of getting around. Obviously a little bit dangerous, no seatbelt, but if you keep within the speed limits and wear your helmet, you'll be fine. And it is so fun and freeing just cruising around on quad bikes. It's the most freeing feeling. That's all I can say. Holding on to the back of it. It is a bit scary. If you've ever been on the quad bike, you know they can go fast, but it is a really fun way of getting about. So we'd literally take the quad bike to Lidl and get our, you know, our weekly shop or our shop for that day, and then just go back. And it's nice and compact, so you can park it in pretty much anywhere. So that saved us a ton of money. And you can also get cars, but we didn't actually want to get a car that time. We wanted to just not have a car the whole time. We just kind of wanted to be free of an actual huge vehicle. But the next time we go, we'll definitely be renting a car, because it is so much more convenient. And there's AC, because you get a tan when you're on these quad bikes. One of the most spectacular things that I highly recommend you go and do in Ibiza is see Esfedra. Now, it is honestly the most beautiful, surreal sight you'll ever see. And when you're up close, you can only get so close to it, but I'll tell you another way on how you can get closer in a bit. I mean, the island is so large that you just can't even comprehend it when you look at it. One of the biggest myths is that it's the third most magnetic place on the earth. So it has some sort of energy that's drawn to that point, and you can kind of, you know, believe it how you want. But when you go to that sort of place and you're near it, you do feel some type of way. And because we were so blown away by it, we decided to get jet skis and have a tour around the island. And I was blown away. It did cost a lot to do this, so you know, it is a little bit of an L, but it was a really good opportunity, and I'm so blessed to be able to do it and grateful. But it was surreal to get that close to the island. From seeing it afar on top of the cliff to then suddenly seeing it in person was breathtaking, and I'd recommend it to anyone. I think one of the main reasons why we decided to go to Ibiza is because it's a small island, and you feel like after a while when you slow down and you just kind of, you know, you're going to the local shops, you're getting local food, and you're talking to the locals and they're talking back, and you see familiar faces. It just feels really like a different world, and it can become addictive. I can imagine why people love to stay in those places and become hippies forever, and that is what we became, hippies on the island. It's just so nice to slow down life out there. I mean, you can go anywhere in the Mediterranean, by the Mediterranean Sea, and you can always slow down in these places. But when you start to when you get out of holiday mode and you're no longer trying to spend loads of money, it's really enjoyable getting to know places when you're not hungover and you're just kind of trying to fit in, and you know, and you feel really at one with nature in these places. You're going for swims, you're going for walks, you're exploring, you're eating new foods, and you're experiencing new experiences, and it just kind of opens up the senses. And I guess that's what traveling does, and it's definitely a privilege to be able to go. If you're wondering how we could afford to go out there, we both were working whilst there, so our businesses are set up so we can actually be anywhere and work, so that was accommodating. And also I was doing some shoots out there for clients like Sprite and Heineken's, so it was a really nice place to just kind of experience work balance with life and just scenery. So it was an amazing time. I'd highly recommend it. One of the next really cool things that we did whilst in Ibiza, which I highly recommend, is going to the old abandoned festival club. Now, this is a place that absolutely took me by surprise. Now, it's a completely abandoned complex. You can walk through there freely, and it's completely covered in graffiti, but it has so much history that's just left there that it feels surreal to walk around it. Now, apparently even Bob Marley performed there, and knowing that was crazy to walk around. But also I went on the stage and just kind of imagined that they were there, and it was a whole thing. Originally opened in 1972, the largest complex included a restaurant, amphitheatre, and several dance floors hosting music concerts, mock bullfighting, performance entertainment, and more. It invented the idea of large multi-purpose spaces in Ibiza in the days when bus tours were at their height. Coach loads of international tourists would descend upon the venue for endless nights of wining, dining and dancing. Sadly, by 1974, with mounting debts from a poor previous season, the club was forced to close. It was always planned to reopen, but unfortunately never quite managed it, so the forces of nature took hold and turned it into a dystopian style playground it is today. In the present day, it is a paint can paradise, which is one of the White Isle's most unique structures. Now, it was only open for a couple of years, and to go there now, seeing nature take over it, was kind of eerie. You know, you can imagine people being there, enjoying their time, bring their families there, and enjoying live music and food and everything. And now it's completely derelict. It's really cool. They haven't destroyed it. They haven't put like fences around, so you can actually go and explore it. But definitely one of my suggestions is to go and see that. Obviously be safe whilst you're going there. It is an abandoned place, and there's, you know, it's literally just left alone. So go and see that if you want. It's a really cool place. One of our main routines whilst out there was to get a swim in as much as we could. It could be in the morning, afternoon or evening, but as trying to get it done in the day. Also, here's a story. I don't know if anyone's seen The Octopus Teacher on Netflix, but it's basically about a guy who becomes obsessed with an octopus, and he goes to see it every day and gives it gifts of stones and shells, and the octopus befriends him and starts to see him and like sees him every day and like loves the gifts. So basically, I thought I was the octopus teacher. I saw an octopus at the bottom of the floor covered in shells. So I would swim down and give it some shells and some rocks. And, you know, I'd go up to the surface, get my breath, and then find some more rocks, and then swim down, give it some shells and some rocks. And I'd go back up to the surface, get my breath, go down, swim. And you know, it did nothing. It didn't say hello, thank you, or anything. Ungrateful octopus. Do you know what I mean? I nearly cooked him for my lunch, Nod. I've been in your waters. But yeah, it's just really nice to go out there and be a dolphin all day. Just get in the sea, and then you just, you know, you sit on the beach with your Lay's crisps and you're chilling. You're probably also thinking, Adam, Ibiza, I want to go there, have some fun. You know, it's not all about the octopuses and, you know, the relaxing and the zen and the kumbayas. It's all about, you know, the sesh as well. You always have a better experience where the locals go than where the mass tourists go, and trust me on that. When you live there, you kind of see where to go and where not to go. We're going to like Cafe Mambo. Now, speaking of Cafe Mambo, I would highly recommend going there for one of their sunset sets, because you're seeing the sunset and you're having drinks and you're having food, and there's world top class DJs right next to you DJing, and it sounds like I work for them, but I literally had only been there for the first time. This was my first time in Ibiza, and it was so fun seeing people like DJs in front of you DJing in the most iconic spot where the best sunset is setting. So it was a great time. Hey! When you're out there, you might get a little bit homesick, you might miss your parents, or you might miss your friends and people and your dog, but you kind of learn to grow through those things, and you kind of become a little bit more emotionally mature, because you have to handle things a little bit different when you're abroad. So it is a whole experience, it is a whole kind of change out your comfort zone, But if you do want to make this jump, definitely do it. It's easier than you think. And if you're like, how all these steps? And if you have, you know, work and stuff, that will be a factor. You've got to, you know, weigh it out. And don't obviously go there and then become like homeless and no money. But it's definitely good to try and take some risks and do different things. And I know it's hard to do this when you got bills to pay and the cost of living crisis, and there's loads of work to do. But if you can take gap years, if you can take time off, if you can find slots to do something different like that, go to a different country or even a different part of the UK, then I definitely recommend it, because we're only here once. Do you know what I mean? We might as well experience as much as we can and then tell the stories to people that will hopefully inspire them to do so also. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's been nice sharing you my experience, my time, my life online for you lot to watch and listen to. But I've also got a podcast that I've been doing loads of podcasts on, and you can listen to them there. If you want to hear me waffle on for longer than like 10 to 15 minutes, you can go over there. It's called the Facts Only Podcast on all platforms now. But anyways, I will see you in my next video. Peace out.